might take a minute. Oh, here we go. Okay.
You ready? Okay, I'll call the meeting of the Planning Commission of the City of Bowling Green for the month of July 2021 to order. And Jamie, would you please call the roll?
Here.
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 Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here. Okay, thank you. Before we move on, as some of you have noticed, we have a new member for the second meeting in a row. Mr. Bobby last meeting, and this time Mark Remus joins us. And most of us know Mark has been a pretty prominent member in the real estate community in Bowling Green for quite a while. I know I worked with him a bit when I was on city council, and I think we all look forward to him making a very positive contribution.
I do as well.
Is it Remus or Remus?
Remus.
Remus?
Remus.
You're okay.
I did it. I
You
said
didn't
Remus
butcher
because
it
she
as
did.
most people do. It's okay.
Yeah.
You're good.
Okay, the
It's
minutes from the
Remus.
June 2021 meeting, those were distributed ahead of time. Were there any corrections or additions or deletions to those minutes? Okay, seeing no comment, then those are approved as they were handed out. Next, we've got lobby visitation. The lobby visitation, of course, is a chance for any member of the public to come to the meeting and express their thoughts or opinions to us on subjects that are not part of the agenda for that night's meeting. Is there anybody that wishes to address the commission tonight? All right, doesn't look like there is, so I'll close lobby visitation. We do have one public hearing tonight. It's a request to vacate the alley that is located west and south of 615 North Grove Street, between West Mary Street and West Evers Avenue. Monte Ferris et al. Petitioners. Heather, do you have anything to tell us about that request?
Absolutely. The actual petition was received by the Clerk of City Council on April 22nd. The actual address, I think to be most helpful, is 615 North Grove Street, and the alley does run north to south behind it, and then west to east to the south of that property. I gave you an aerial view of the property in your packet. We did request comments from the city staff or administration, and they had no impacts, no concerns. There are no utilities within the area. That's usually the first thing we look for. So really, it's no value to the city as far as that goes. We have been working with the owners for a while, and they were doing some projects, pool, deck, shed, et cetera. And in doing so, we found that the structures do sit off of their property, and they did not realize there is a public alley there. If you drive by, it'll be very hard to tell it's an alley because basically, people are using it as their own and it's not improved. We did give you some pictures in your packet just to give you an idea. There is, of course, that alley that runs on the north of their property that's not part of this, but just to give you an idea of how that property sets and what's around it. So we would need a recommendation from Planning Commission that would go to council after the public hearing. So I think that's it as far as staff report goes, unless you
Yeah.
have any specific questions.
No, pretty simple matter. I know I drove by there. You'd never know it was an alley. It's grassed in. There's a pool back behind the house. There's a chain link fence across the property. Just looks like somebody's yard.
Yeah.
Which means it doesn't have much use as an alley these days, and probably hasn't for a long time. Okay, thank you, Heather. I assume that we do not have any testimony from the applicant tonight because I don't see anybody that looks like the applicant here. And no testimony from the public. Okay, we can discuss it amongst ourselves briefly before we make our recommendation. Anybody have any comments to make?
In them all. Look like a
Right.
yard.
Right.
Yeah, apparently the owners of the adjoining property were quite surprised to find out it was an alley.
So Heather, just
Yes.
for my future knowledge, if this is vacated, does it get added to the property of
Parcel.
the homeowner?
That is a-
and
Good question.
So their parcel is larger and taxes will reflect that at some point too?
That is a great question. What happens is it's split down the middle. So one half does go to this owner and the other half would go to the other adjoining property owners.
There'll be a new parcel.
Correct.
Would there be any benefit to not vacate?
We sometimes we look at these for interconnectedness, and I think in this case, if you look at it, there really isn't anything. It's such an odd shaped alley. It doesn't even head really horizontal to get to Fairview, for example, more of a major thoroughfare. So I don't think I personally could see a benefit, but I'm not going to speak for you all if you can see a benefit to that alley.
That's what I thought you would say. I just wanted to question.
Sure. No, it's a great question.
Okay, that cover it? Well, then do we have a motion to approve or recommend to city council that the alley be vacated as requested?
So
Yes.
moved.
Okay, Judy Ennis,
I'll second.
Erica has the second.
Go girl power.
And Jamie, would you call the roll, please?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
You're good.
Yes.
And Mr. Spiller.
Yes.
Okay. The request that was recommended to city council then that be approved. That's the only public hearing we have tonight, but the next thing on the agenda is a request to vacate West Oak Street, running west to east between North Church Street and South Church Street, City of Bowling Green and Wood County District Public Library petitioners. And we'll put that on the agenda for a public hearing at our next meeting, which is August 4th, if I remember right.
Correct. Yes.
Jamie, you want to put that on the agenda for that meeting? That gets us into reports. Judy, to have something from the Zoning Board of Appeals?
Oh, I certainly do. We had an election of officers, as everyone else did. We retained the same officers for another year, with Rose as the secretary, Hobart Jones is the vice chairman, and I'm back as chairperson. We had 3 requests for variances. The first one was from Bill Schoenheier on behalf of Nova Vision at 524 East Woodland Circle, and that's zoned an M3 business park. He has requested a variance to allow the construction of a 10-foot by 288.1-foot driveway that would not be a hard, dustless surface for its entire length and area as required. It was unanimously approved. The next one was very interesting. Jimmy McCune, on behalf of Wallet Communities and property owners Lloyd and Linda Fight, has requested a variance to allow the construction of a 96-unit multifamily complex, which would provide 202 off-street parking spaces rather than the required 358 off-street parking spaces. Makes a difference of 156 spaces, and would exceed the 40% maximum lot coverage by 10%. In other words, a total of 50% coverage, zoned R3 multiple family residential moderate density. It was ended up with 3 being for the request and 3 being against it. So therefore, the request was not granted. That one took a lot of discussion. The last one was Lee Liberto, 909 North Main Street, requested a variance to allow the construction of an addition, a U-shaped deck around a pool that would be 32 feet wide and 16 feet deep, which would encroach 19 feet into the required 20-foot rear yard setback, existing lot of records, and that was unanimously granted. And then we all got to pet her dog, which she brought with her. That's my report,
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman.
Thank you, Judy. Heather,
Yes.
do
Could
you
you
have a
pass this
report
on,
for
please?
us?
Yes, it's been a few months and there's a lot going on within the city. In fact, so much going on that I forgot a couple things on the list that I will add. So as far as zoning permit status, we have issued or reviewed 270 total zoning permits compared to this time last year. We were at 233. So we're up significantly with the permits and what we're reviewing. We've had 15 single-family housing starts this time this year compared to 12 this time last year. So we're up on those slightly. And then we have not had any multifamily, commercial, industrial, or institutional permits to review. We had 0 multiple family this time last year, 1 commercial, 1 industrial, and 1 institutional. Since I've reported, we did issue permits for the Speedway rebuilding at 1650 East Wooster Street. So they had bought that BP and they will be tearing that down and building 1 new Speedway. We also issued a permit for the expanded Veterans Memorial at the Wood County Courthouse that you probably see is already under construction. And then we issued a permit for new construction at 121 East Wooster Street. And as far as new construction, really what they're doing is changing the upper floor of that building into apartments. So 5 new apartments there. It was previously office space. And then we still have Bowling Green Healthcare Real Estate, which is new construction for assisted living facility on South Dunbridge Road on hold. But we are told that is back online, the project. So we're hopeful that we're able to issue that hopefully maybe by the end of the summer. Then we have subdivisions. We do have Cogan's Crossing, the final plat. It's called Plat 8. We're reviewing that now. So I do anticipate that will be on your agenda for next month if we get all the items that we need for that to happen. We have a lot of things going on as far as implementing of the community action plan, East Worcester corridor, and of course, land use plan that's still on the forefront. So as part of that, we have the update to the zoning code that continues. I did give you a copy of some sample pages. You'll notice that they are much like the Gateway District, so it's probably no surprise to you, but I thought it would be nice to see some samples of what that's turning to look like. Much nicer format. If you've looked at your zoning code lately, it's really just text. It's pretty bland, so we think this is a great improvement. We anticipate the following timeline. So we literally just got an administrative draft on Friday that we will be reviewing with staff this month at some point. Then we hope that the public review goes online in August, and then September presentation of the draft code, October delivery of final public review draft and public hearings to start. And then the goal is to adopt the new zoning code by the end of the calendar year. So we're very hopeful that will all happen. It's a big project, and certainly Planning Commission, you are involved in that, and we will have more details on that soon. And council has adopted a rental registration program, which planning is responsible for that. So we are working on that project. It's a very big project. It may not seem like that, but a lot of work has to go into that. Council has also been working with the Bicycle Safety Commission on recommendations for bicycle accommodations. And I thought you should be aware as a planning commission that this is important, that you're aware of what's going on our public roadways with this type of infrastructure. Additionally, council is discussing complete streets, that being potentially an ordinance. And you might rewind back to the future land use plan and how the resolution from council was adopted after that in 2015. So again, it's still implementing that plan. And then also we have a firm that the council has hired to update the bicycle map, which is part of the transportation section of the city's master plan. So we're continuing our work on East Worcester Street and improving the aesthetics and the safety. So you might have read in the paper already that the third roundabout is being planned for Campbell Hill, Alumni Drive, and East Worcester Street. Again, a great improvement. Long-term, we hope to add a median, again, according to the East Worcester concept plan and the future land use plan, adding the shade trees, the landscaping, and really improving that look. Also want you to be aware that the Parks and Recreation Department is still working on their 5-year plan, which is part of the city's comprehensive plan. That is due, I believe, at the end of the year, that will have to start in the 2022 5-year plan. They did send a survey out to random households, and they do have those results. And so more to come on that. But again, as the planning body for the city, I wanted you to be aware of that process. It kind of went on hold like a lot of things with the pandemic. So it's back online again. So some miscellaneous updates, 2020 census, no updates yet on that. Council did accept the annexation that you recommended approval for and zoning that to the RC Recreational Conservation District and R2, which was the property on South Winter Garden Road for the expansion of Winter Garden Park. And then there was a small residential parcel that was part of a house already. Council also passed the rezoning that you recommended for the city building where we're at now and the related properties to be B3. And I forgot to mention one thing. The Parks and Rec Department also is finishing up their shelter house that is at Carter Park. And again, that was part of the community action plan. One of the recommendations of the plan was to really look at Carter Park, maybe redesigning, adding things that are a feature for community space, picnics, again, attracting those multifamily areas around there to utilize that more. And then we have parklets. So if you remember back in the land use plan in 2014, parklets were a recommendation of that plan to consider and recommend. So those have now happened. So our office does handle the paperwork for that, making sure the plans are submitted. We check all the requirements of that. And then the business owner is able to move forward. So again, just kind of give you an idea of all the duties we have going on and all the projects. And then another thing I forgot to tell you was that the historic preservation ordinance that you remember was passed a few months ago At least we are now considered a certified local government by the National Park Service based on that ordinance. So that's really exciting news. That's been a lot of work for a lot of people. And that was exciting to hear that on effective June 16th. A lot of work was put in by the Historic Preservation Commission, and you'll see a lot more, I think, your way when it comes to local designation and what that looks like in the future. They have a very big appetite. So we're just trying to, figure out priorities and what's next. So I think that was it, unless you have any specific questions.
Heather, do we know anything more about the status of Menards?
My daily question? No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Nope, I don't.
Sorry. It's my other daily question that I get.
Okay, any other questions for Heather?
Heather, can you refresh my memory? Rental registration program, what is that?
So I'm sorry, that is for residential units in the city to be registered with our department. So it's pretty basic information. It would be the business name or property owner name, address. It can
And
vary from.
You just ask them upon signing up or?
No, it's basically want to have a record of your rental unit and the address and how many units you have. So
Perfect,
it's
the
really
property owner.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
And there's another caveat in the ordinance that if you're not local, so within 35 miles, then you do have to have an authorized representative able to make decisions based on, any
Okay,
issue that may
yeah,
come up,
sure.
and be accessible. So that's one thing that came up that we also have to collect if you need to have an authorized representative, because we do have people that own property, obviously not
Correct.
all local. So it's just a way to be able to contact somebody if there's concerns, and then everybody will have access to that information, whether it's police, code enforcement, health department,
Right.
et cetera. So.
Okay.
And again, it's still new, so we're still working through what that looks like, but it's a framework that we'll get to the foundation of eventually, but it'll take time.
Well, like I own property, obviously. So is it like what I give to the fire department and the police department? when my
Well, it's
alarms go off,
residential
or-
unit, so if you do have residential units, yes.
Okay.
It's not commercial
So
or.
it's like the same thing though. It's the same concept. If anything happens with that property, then you have a contact person to reach.
Yes, yes, and we are working closely with the fire department with their
Right.
pre-plans, yes. That's
Okay.
how we've gotten a lot of the addressing cleaned up,
Right, yeah.
so, yes.
Okay.
You're welcome.
All righty, we have one other small matter to bring up before we adjourn. Heather and I talked a little bit about this since the last meeting, and that's whether we want to live stream our planning commission meetings to the public. As I understand it, Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, we have a choice in that matter. City council does theirs, but no other commissions that the city has is doing this.
Correct. So during the pandemic, the state of Ohio made the decision that we could have virtual meetings. So that has expired July 1st. So we're no longer to have a virtual meeting as far as members go and making decisions and voting. So, but we can still live stream the meetings if you find value in that. We were told that it's up to each board and commission to make up their mind what they would like to do. So far, I'm not aware that anybody else is doing it besides city council.
And we're live streaming it just to keep people in their home.
It was just an option. It's an option that
I'm just
able to
wondering.
utilize.
Have there been requests for us to do so?
No.
Okay.
Do we
Wow.
know or have any idea if anybody's watching this right now? I don't know if there's any way to track that.
Yeah, that's.
Well, there's
Everybody
there's
using-
two people on there now. I think we might be one of them.
Right. I'd like to point out that our city plan is to get people out and amongst the city.
We should
So-
do it. No, we should.
Well,
We should absolutely live stream it. It's
No.
2021.
I don't care if it's 2025.
And this is such a hot item.
We should lower barriers to entry. It takes a lot more to have somebody come sit in the seat than it does for somebody who might be interested just to click on a link for 5 minutes.
Completely disagree.
So do you know if we do so, we have like today, public portion, are they allowed to do so from?
No, you
Their
can't
home?
do it
No.
on YouTube.
just to
No,
watch.
it's
Just to
just to
watch
watch,
us.
correct.
It's to allow greater participation for people who might not be able to attend other.
Well, no, it's not for participation, it's just to watch.
Observe.
Right.
Well, they can
Participation,
call
meaning
Heather the next
participation.
day and complain about us.
Right.
Or it might be the first step to participate.
Right.
Maybe somebody doesn't even know we exist and
Well,
they watch
shame
the
on them.
thing. And well, for sure. I agree it's not
Yeah.
ideal, but I don't think we should let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I think it's a good idea.
Well, because personally, I wish the states would have revisited the option. not as a regular practice, but as some of you know, I travel for work sometimes. That
Sure.
means I can't be here in person. And the Zoom option was something I was hoping would stick. Didn't. But yeah, there are people like my mom who, if she couldn't participate in her church services on her computer, she would have been without any contact for a year and a half. So I guess my opinion on it would be, it'd be nice if we knew if people were actually watching, because if they're not, it seems kind of pointless.
I
But
mean, is
if
it a big
people
put out
are
anyways?
Is it what?
Is it really a big put out to
No,
log in and
I mean,
hit
I
play?
don't have a problem with it.
Does it effectively cost the city anything to do it?
I don't believe so, but
The biggest thing is
If there's no cost and it opens the door to participation
Yeah.
of any kind, I'm okay.
It's not participation. Heather just said that.
Well,
Saying
opens
you-
the door.
participation
It is
through
participation.
observation.
It is.
Yeah.
Observing is, you're
I
passively
disagree.
participating. Then you can come to the next, and if
Observing
this
is
week
observing.
we didn't have much going on. We have lots of, or this month, lots of times that happens. Sometimes there's exciting stuff. There might be more people.
Yeah, I
Why
wondered
shut
if
that door?
we had something controversial, there might be some people watching as opposed to
Yes,
the
I'm sure there
vacation
would
of an
be.
alley that nobody knows exists.
Well, the
Yeah,
other
like-
thing that doesn't happen very often, but does happen, is when there's standing room only in this room and we can't let more people as a fire code issue. And then those people could still at least watch the proceedings.
That
later.
ever became a problem, ever? in the
It's been a
whole
problem.
It
I've been here
has
several
been.
times
Yeah.
when
Yeah,
that's
it
happened.
can be.
Yeah, I've never. been
might
on
have
this
missed
sword,
those,
and,
but-
yeah,
I've been here many times.
put a microphone up.
So Bob, I think the consensus is,
The consensus seems to
Go
do-
ahead.
we go
Oh, do we
ahead.
need to vote
Go
on
ahead
it?
and do
Apparently
it.
not.
I don't think you need to vote on
I
it.
don't think
No.
we need to vote on it. Why don't, well,
No,
let's
we
just
don't.
do, let's
I
just
don't
do a
care.
show of hands. How many people are in favor of it? Okay, that's most of us.
And quite frankly, if we decide to stream it and we at some point
Yeah, we
decide
can
not
always
to,
stop.
we can change that at any point.
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Sure. Okay, we'll try it for a while.
Get here and get in the lobby.
Anything else for the good of the order? Okay, we're adjourned. See you in August.
All right.
Yes, so good to see you, Eric.